Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC and with me is...
Wolf.
And today we are doing something a bit differently. We are not talking about any lore or canon or announcements. We are going to talk about the cast of How to Train Dragon. And I guess this is the first episode we're doing where we stray a bit from the subject because we are talking about other projects that the How to Train Dragon cast has done and what we think about them. So let's start with the directors. Dean DeBlanc,
A bit of a different episode
Chris
before
Sanders,
Rush gets back.
I believe it's next week. I'm not sure.
Should be. And we can all celebrate. Yay.
Any-
Rush is back, coming back. Yay.
Yeah. He's coming home. He's coming home. Let's tell the world that he's coming home. Yeah. I'll fill my I'll fill my... Never mind. Apologies to everyone. Anyway, let's start with Dean DeBlanc, Chris Sanders. Before How to Train Dragon, as far as I'm aware, they only had one film under their belt, and that's Lilo and Stitch. I believe you saw it.
Yeah, I think they did do some work on The Lion King, but I think, like head people, Stitch was their first major film together. Yeah. But yes, I've seen...
This is the one that they directed. I think they both did a bit of writing for Mulan. I'm not sure. Yeah, but in terms of Lilo and Stitch, as a kid, I was obsessed with this movie. Today, I still think it's a good movie, but not in my top 10 favorite Disney films.
What, Stitch?
Personally. Yeah.
I think Stitch has one of the best representations of a kid in a movie. Like,
Yeah.
Lilo is probably one of the best written children in a movie I've ever seen. Personally. And I think that alone, I think, makes it stand out. But, yeah, it's definitely... I don't know if I'd say it's in my top 10 movies of all time. But it's definitely a movie I think I enjoyed a lot.
I didn't say all the time. I said Disney specifically.
I mean, Disney movies, I might put it up a bit higher, but it might be in the top 10, it might not, I don't know. But it definitely sticks with me just because of the relationship between Lilo and her sister. Like, the movie's called...
I seriously thought you were going to say Lilo and Stitch, and then I'm like, oh.
The movie's not really about Stitch, though. Like, yeah, it's named after him, and there's definitely a relationship between Lilo and Stitch, but I think the more important story is between Lilo and her sister, and how they have to deal with, how she has to deal with being a parental guardian, and how she has to deal with taking care of her now.
Yeah, I think for the time it was a very different kind of thing for Disney to do. Like, if you're a Disney character, then your parents are most likely dead. That's a no-brainer. But it was interesting to see, sisters go through this. And what did I want to say about this? But yeah, as a kid, I was obsessed with this movie. I loved Stitch so much. And ironically enough, I never saw the sequels. Like, I saw the Stitch the movie thing, the first direct-to-DVD movie, but I never saw the show that they had, and I never saw the other two films.
I think
something interesting about those is that Chris Sanders continues to voice Stitch whenever Disney needs him, even though he's working for DreamWorks now.
No, and that's good of him to do, right? Like, nothing wrong with that.
Like, I played Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I think. It was Birth by Sleep a few years ago when it came out on PS3. And I was surprised to see that he was still there. It came out originally in 2012, and Chris Sanders was already at DreamWorks at the time. It was a year before The Croods. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Talking about the show just real quick, I think the show it's good. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, you know. It's definitely nothing major. It's just a fun thing to watch and go through. And I enjoyed it when I saw some of the episodes of it. And the other movies, it's been a while, but they were good. You know, nothing major, nothing amazing.
Thing I want, if I can bring up something because we're on the subject, there was when the original Lilo and Stitch came out, there was a tie-in game for the PS2 about Stitch causing, him going through several planets for what was his creator Jumba, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he was going around for Jumbo collecting DNAs from other planets and stuff, and there was a game based around that as a tie-in. And they actually brought the first boss of this game into Stitch the movie. He was the main villain.
Neat.
Yeah. It's an odd attention to detail, but hey, it's there. So yeah, Lilo and Stitch, good movie. I still like it. I think it's aged relatively well, even though I'm not as obsessed with it as I was back when I was a kid. Also, I have a picture with Stitch at one of the Disney parks, and that's one of my most prized possessions. So after we talked about Lilo and Stitch, let's move on to actors. So Jay Baruchel, tell me, Wolf, where else have you seen Jay Baruchel?
I've seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice. This is
same.
the End, and I've also seen him in Tropic Thunder as well.
Yes. I've seen all of those 3 films, and
there's definitely been some other stuff he's been in, but I don't remember quite if I've seen it or not.
I've seen one movie that's called She's Out of Your League. Or She's Out of My League.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't remember if I've seen it or not. But I know, he's in that too.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I'm a big fan of his latest show that just finished its 3rd and final season. It's called Men, Sick and Women. It's hilarious. I probably talked about it. Like, if you want a pure comedy, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's not logical by any means, it's perfect. And it's one of those shows that ended on a good note, which is surprising. Yeah, but in terms of Tropic Thunder is one of those movies that the more times I watch it, the more I start to like it. Like, I watched it, the first time I watched it, I was like, that was okay, but the more I see it, the more I'm like, oh man, I love this more and more. Maybe because, film major, so it talks to me in terms of, I know the problems of working on the set. Granted, I didn't direct a war movie yet, but hey, it's a possibility, I guess.
It's definitely a fun comedy to watch, I'd say. Nothing major, nothing amazing, but for those of you who have
it does its
for
job.
those of you who have dreams of Po from Kung Fu Panda and Hiccup working together, this is where you can maybe see what little bit of that.
Alex the Lion from Madagascar.
Do what?
Ben Stiller is in that movie, so Alex the Lion from Madagascar is also there.
Ah, okay. Well,
and also
then,
Iron Man,
all the DreamWorks
the most important
big movies are in one movie together. You can see all of the main characters interact with one another. Briefly.
Yeah, it could have been better because Robert Downey Jr., as far as I'm aware, was supposed to voice 2 DreamWorks characters, but he dropped out of both because of scheduling. So if he had voiced one of them, it could have been 4 DreamWorks characters doing an army movie.
Oh, that would have been interesting to see. I wonder who he would have voiced.
Oh well, you can't win it all. He was supposed to be Megamind and Mr. Peabody.
Ah. Alright. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tropic Thunder I really like. Sorcerer's Apprentice, I think it's a good movie. Not perfect, but you know, it came to me at a good time. Every movie I saw before, like back when it came out, the two movies I saw before it sucked. So it was kind of it was kind of fun to see something that, hey, I can have fun with this. I can have a good time watching this. And not want to kill myself.
If I remember correctly, that movie, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's sequel baited kind of hard too. A little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
You
like,
know, I haven't watched it in a.
It's been a long while since I've seen
it too.
But it was a good movie with.
This is
Nick
the
Cage.
end.
Nick Cage did really well in that movie.
Yep. Yeah, and Nicolas Cage is always a win for me.
He's a fun actor to watch.
Especially because I have this friend who hates Nicolas Cage, and it's always fun to just tease him with the Nicolas Cage impression.
I mean, Nicolas Cage is one of those actors who I think a lot of people, you either enjoy him or you hate him, and neither's technically wrong, right? Like, you can enjoy him for the same reasons that you can hate him in some ways, and for some people that is the case.
Yeah.
He very much overacts in some situations, and it can either be the best thing to watch ever, or it can just not work.
Yeah, you know what? Even though I love Nicolas Cage, the one role I don't like him as is the father in The Croods, ironically enough.
Honestly, when I first watched The Croods, the only reason I knew it was him was because of the voice, but if you would have told me he was in that movie beforehand, I would have never recognized it. I wouldn't have known it, and I knew it was him by the voice, but like it didn't stand out to me at first, is what I mean. But like he's very much underplayed.
I don't know. I recognize them straight away.
Well, yeah, I recognized him. I recognized him straight away too, but like he's very underplayed. So if you missed that he's in that movie, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Because he's very underplayed, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he does have a tendency. At least, but again, this is voice work though, so voice work's very different from actual on-screen acting. But generally, when you hear like a lot of people talk about Nicolas Cage, a lot of people I think tend to say that he has a tendency to kind of steal the scene somewhat whenever he's on screen.
Oh, not the bees! Not the bees!
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
a great example. But
I love this scene so much. For all the wrong reasons.
Back to The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Overall, yeah, a fun movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so
it's very much. It came out,
and you know, I think this was the first because it came out a few months after How to Train Your Dragon did,
yeah.
And I think this was the point I started to recognize. Like I listened to Jay's character in this, and I'm like, you know, he sounds very, very familiar. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Hiccup.
Mm-hmm. And even the character he plays in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, I mean, I would say it's not that far different from Hiccup.
Similar. Yeah. And the final movie you mentioned of the three, and my favorite personally is This Is the End.
This is a movie I've not seen. I've heard of it, and I've seen like a scene here and there, but I've not seen the full thing. But I know it's supposed to be a very good comedy. An extremely fun comedy.
It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, this is one of those movies that, you know, it's not trying to say anything philosophical. It's not trying to be a masterpiece. It just wants to have fun. And my God, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, kind of a mini rant, but this kind, because, you know, Jay Baruchel is in it, and also Jonah Hill is in this movie. And it's like, and since the actors are supposed to play fictional versions of themselves, it's throughout the entire movie, I'm just like, no one is going to mention that both Jay and Jonah were in How to Train a Dragon. Everyone is just going to forget that. Really? But yeah, and another thing, in She's Out of My League, TJ Miller is in this movie. So, and that's a kind of interesting thing with the How to Train a Dragon cast, and we'll get to it. A lot of them meet in, like, appear together in other films, which is, it's fun to think about.
It can also
Okay, I
it
think
can also
that's it.
help in terms of acting because they know each other, so they can play off each other better somewhat.
Yeah.
But
Any other films or shows you've seen Jay Baruchel in and you want to share?
anything I've seen, kind of looking at the list of stuff he's been in, nothing major I would say that I've seen him in.
One thing I want to mention, I haven't seen either of those films yet, but I know he's written a film called Goon,
Mm-hmm.
which came out in 2011, and I think I don't remember if it was this year or late 2016, a sequel was released and he directed it. So good for him.
Like actually, looking it up, he actually has quite a few different director and writer roles. Like This Is the End, he was co-producer on.
Okay.
So,
Well, I can see how, because again, they're essentially playing themselves. So I can.
the main person behind This Is the End, like him and Jay and someone else, I forget who. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, Evan Goldberg. Like they did basically kind of we want to see if people would be interested in a thing like this. So they did something called Jay and Seth versus the Apocalypse, a short comedy film, back in 2007. That was basically, if you want to call it this, it's kind of the prequel to, This Is the End, and
This Is the End.
yeah.
I've heard of it, never watched it.
But supposedly that's kind of where they got the start from. And he was also like, a writer and director for that too.
Cool.
But yeah, like I didn't realize how many writer and director and producer credits Jay actually has, but he has quite a few.
Good on him. And I'll try and catch up with more of his stuff when I have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not in the near 3 years, I think. But
I've seen more of his
moving on.
stuff than I have our leading lady, America Ferrera.
Yeah, so America Ferrera is this is a funny thing to me because I know she was in Ugly Betty. I'm not sure what role she was on that show, but all I remember is that back in elementary school, I would go to my grandma's house, and every time I was about to start my homework, she would watch Ugly Betty. And the reason for this was because she knew I had no business watching a show starting a girl and an adult girl, so that the TV won't attract me while I try to focus on my homework. So that's how I remember Ugly Betty.
I think the only thing other than Dragons that I've seen of her being in and having like a major role in would be, and this has been ages, but The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I saw that movie, and that's like the only thing I've seen her in, and I don't remember anything about that movie. I can't say anything about it either. I don't even remember
about to
it.
say, I've never heard of it. Can you tell me what it's about?
It's as far as I remember, I think it just follows the book, right? Like there's a book called Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and I remember reading
there's a book. I didn't know about that as well.
this book, I think in school, because I think may have been like some kind of required reading for something. I forget what. It's been a while. I'm old. Forgive me, listeners at home. But Yeah, like that's the only thing that I remember. I think I remember seeing the movie, and that's like the only thing. And I don't remember anything about the movie at all. So sorry, I can't say too much about stuff that America Ferrera has been in because I've just not seen a lot of the stuff she's been in. Unfortunately.
Same here, but I did see one movie she was in, which came out last year. It's called Special Correspondence. It's on Netflix. To those who want to check it out. Basically, it's about a radio host who, a male radio host. It's not America Ferrera, who's always the first with the scoop kind of guy. He and his partner have to fly to, where was it? Colombia, I think. I don't remember. They have to fly somewhere in order to report about a war that's going on in there, but his partner accidentally threw the plane tickets, so they hide in a like a cafe kind of thing, which is located one building away from the radio station, and the two idiot owners have to help them produce like the radio show as if they're in that location. And they're just hiding in their attic. And America Ferrera played one of the cafe owners, like the character and their husband are complete idiots. But you know, it's kind of those idiots written and played correctly because she was hilarious in this movie. I recommend. She is probably one of the main reasons I'll recommend giving it a watch. She and her husband in movie were hilarious.
I remember seeing this one, but I never got around to watching it. I'll have to give it a shot and check it out.
Let me know what you do. And again, this is one of those movies that kind of came out at the right time for me because you know it's about radio, and last year I had to take a radio class and we had to make a radio show. So again, it kind of hit the spot for me. At the time, but I still think it's a fun movie about how far can people go in order to achieve, popularity and pretty much popularity. But but America Ferrera did a great job, and to be honest, the kind of a funny story here. The reason I wanted to see it is because I read before this that both America Ferrera and Kelly MacDonald is in this movie alongside her, and Kelly MacDonald, to those who don't know, is the voice of Merida in Brave, and I am like, how ironic that we have a movie with these two, with these two actresses, and then to my dismay, they never share the screen time, so, kind of a missed opportunity.
Oh well.
Yeah. So sadly, that's all I have to say about America Ferrera.
Yeah, I can't say a whole lot. Unfortunately, I've just not seen a lot of the stuff she's been in. Unfortunately. I am sorry.
Yeah, same.
I am terrible.
Oh well. It's okay. We're all friends here. So anyway, let's move on to Fish Legs next. Just so you could tell me again how to say his name. I'm not sure everything.
Christopher Mintz-Plasse, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So stuff I've seen him in. Well, obviously Superbad. His first ever movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
I've seen that one. Superbad's great.
Man, for the longest time, I started calling people McLovin just for the hell of it because I thought it was a funny name. And aside from that, I also remember him in Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2, especially Kick-Ass 2 because I think he was the best part in this movie.
Yeah, those were both just great movies. Hands down, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I loved the first one. Second one I thought was a bit less good, but the best parts were with him as the motherfucker. He was great. Yeah, anything else he was in? I'm trying to
He
think.
was in DreamWorks Trolls, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, haven't seen that one. So
I've seen a bit of it. I know
yeah,
whose voice he
I'm
did,
kind
and
of
he did.
behind with DreamWorks movies actually.
All right.
Like I haven't seen Trolls and I haven't seen the Boss Baby. And ironically enough, both of them are getting sequels now. But that's another topic.
Mm.
So what was trying to say before I interrupted you?
He was the voice of King Gristle, I think. Man, he was all right. Like Trolls was an all right movie, not anything major. Paranorman was another. Have you seen that one?
That's one of those movies I always wanted to see, but I never got around to.
I have not seen it either. But
Oh, okay.
that's why I was bringing it up. But I know he was in it at the very least. And I've seen a few images here and there, and like a scene or two, but nothing. I've not seen the full movie.
And ironically enough, I believe I saw. The only thing I saw from this movie was a video on YouTube of the entire cast recording their lines, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about because I haven't seen the movie.
Mm.
But yeah, the stuff I saw him in, I remember him fondly. Let's say it like that.
Did you see Marmaduke?
With all the sadness of the matter, yes.
He was in that, and that was
What was he in that movie?
do what?
What role did he play in that movie? I
I
don't
think
remember
it
him there.
says he played Giuseppe.
I'll need to look who that character is because I actually don't remember Giuseppe in this movie.
He was Giuseppe
he
was
probably a voice.
one of the dogs. He was the voice for one of the dogs.
Oh, okay. Legit.
Yeah, he was a nervous, stylized Chinese crested dog.
Oh, okay. I think I know. I know who that was. I think I know what dog he played. Oh well, I don't care. It wasn't a good movie.
I
The only good
enjoyed
thing
it for
about
what
that
it
is
was.
that I
It
got to
wasn't amazing though. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when I say I don't like it, it's not it's not the worst thing of all time, but
Yeah.
it just didn't click.
Oh
with
yeah,
me.
absolutely. Like it was there.
I will say this. I love Great Dane dogs. They are beautiful things.
They're very fun dogs to be around and to watch.
Okay, so next up, I guess Jonah Hill.
Not loud himself.
Yep, it's not all himself. So we already mentioned two movies he was in, which are This Is the End and Superbad, which I already stated I like both of those films. Ironically enough, both are with Seth Rogen, who is a good friend of his, as far as I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
And other two movies I saw Jonah Hill in were Jump Street, 21 and 22. Both great. I love both of them.
Have I seen? I don't think I've seen either of the Jump Street movies. No, I've not seen. I think I've seen the first one. I didn't see the second one. Something else he was in that I know he was in that I've not seen either is The Wolf of Wall Street.
I saw a bit of it. And also, he was another DreamWorks character. He was the villain in Megamind. What was his name? Titan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing I saw. And to be honest, I don't remember. I didn't even remember it was him in Megamind. To be perfectly honest. Like, nothing against the film. I like the film just fine. Just I don't remember him being there.
It wasn't a very
So,
big role.
but, you
Like
know.
he was kind of the villain very late into the film, I would say.
Well, considering the fact that the film is about a villain turning hero, so you can't really spend time developing the villain. I guess I don't know. Does it make
Mhm.
sense to you?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another thing. But we pretty much said everything that we need to say about him already. I like the Jump Street movies. I love This Is the End. Superbad is a fun time. Megamind is okay, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
So next up, T.J. Miller. Well, this one's easy. He pretty much plays himself in every movie he's in, and I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to complain about that.
I mean, I think Cloverfield was his first role, was it not? Yeah, looking it up, Cloverfield was his
Probably.
first on screen appearance. Yeah,
But
probably one
what
of the
did
first
you
roles.
just say?
Cloverfield. Do you not remember Cloverfield?
No, I
The
know
whole,
what you're talking about. Yeah, the monster attacking thing, head
found-
of Statue of Liberty is torn off. Yeah, I remember that one.
The found footage monster film.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what
he
you're
was
talking
in-
about. I remember even seeing it. I just don't remember much of it.
Well, I mean, it's an old film, if I'm not mistaken. That was, what, 2000?
That was
Early
what,
2000s. 2008, actually,
I think
wow.
yeah, 2008. Man, so it will be 10 years old next year. My God, time flies.
Mm-hmm. We're getting old. Older.
Man, yeah. You know, I just had a talk with a friend that the Uncharted franchise is going to be 10 this year, and we're like, no, we don't agree. It does not compute.
To be fair,
But
Cloverfield
back
was,
to
like, you know, looking at T.J. Miller and some of his roles, Cloverfield, like, he wasn't actually on screen, but for, like, one time. The rest of the time, like, he's the guy holding the camera doing the found footage stuff, so...
yeah, he was the guy holding the camera, right?
It's mostly just his
So,
voice you
we
hear.
see him like, yeah, and maybe we see him maybe once or twice. I remember one time where he like takes the camera and says, "If this is the last you'll ever see of me, I just want to say so and so," and then they keep going. That's one part I remember.
I would say Cloverfield isn't the best example of how funny he can be, though. Like Cloverfield, like, I
Yeah,
don't
because
think...
it's not a comedic film.
Well, I know that, but, you know, there's other stuff he's been in that isn't necessarily comedy either, but you still kind of get that very much ad-libbed T.J. Miller, this is kind of him being himself. Cloverfield, you don't really get that. Though, to be fair, that was kind of his first
Yeah.
major role, I think.
Yeah, and also I think you know, again, this is one of those films and roles because that the directors don't really give you much to ad lib to, because again, it's not supposed to be a comedy. Your role is not comedic, so, and who knows, maybe he did ad lib stuff, but it just wasn't on the funny side because
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, I mean, talking about
But
one of his favorite roles and movies that... One of my favorite movies that he's been in and one of my favorite roles that he's had was Deadpool.
yeah, definitely,
Like,
definitely.
that was just him at his
I-
best.
I would go. I would go with you, Wade, but I don't want to.
Like, that movie was
You
just...
remember that part near the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that movie was great.
Yeah, that movie's great,
And
and his
again, I
role in it
just
is
loved it.
wonderful.
Yeah, and again, I just love that part where before Deadpool goes to get like Negasonic and Colossus to help him save his girlfriend, and TJ Miller just tell him, "I would go with you, Wade, but I don't want to." And he like pats on his back like, "Thanks for the support, asshole." That's
Yep.
great. That's
That's pretty much the sum up of that movie. But
Yeah.
that's...
I so hope has it been confirmed if he comes back for the sequel? I think it.
I don't know.
was.
I've not looked into... I didn't even know there was a sequel.
Yeah, there is. There is even a trailer for it.
I don't keep up with things.
If you look at YouTube Deadpool 2 teaser, you'll probably
Mhm.
find it. Anyway, back to one of the interesting roles he had in the past few years, actually the same year as How to Train Your Dragon 2, is in Big Hero 6. He
Mhm.
did the voice of Fred.
Yep.
And for all intents and purposes, Fred is the tough nut of Big Hero 6.
Mm. Not surprising, considering it's.
which is not which, which is not necessarily a bad thing, mind you.
Yeah.
You know, somebody actually brought it up to me that the first appearance Fred makes in this movie is him dressed up as like a green dragon, and someone told me, "Hey, look, he's dressed up as a zipper bag," and I'm like, "Huh, I didn't notice that." Probably not intentional.
Looking at other films he was in, I did
Okay,
see.
just one. Before that, I just want to say one more thing about Big Hero 6,
Oh, go ahead.
because I remember there was a time where I told a friend as a joke, I don't remember that, if they'll ever make a Big Hero 6 TV show, then we know for sure T.J. Miller will reprise the role because he reprised his tough nut in the Dragons TV show.
Mhm.
Then, lo and behold, there's a Big Hero 6 show announced, and he's one of two cast members to not return. The irony.
The irony. So I can't say a lot about Big Hero 6 personally because I actually never saw it. I just never got around to seeing it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I've heard that it's a very fun and good movie.
Not enough to take the Oscar from that movie we are doing a podcast on, but yeah, it's still a good enough movie. It's in my top 10 Disney movies. If we kinda talked about the subject in the last stage. Anyway, you wanted to say?
Did you see the 2010 Yogi Bear movie?
Oh, I know he was in that, but I haven't seen it. Because, to be honest, this is one of those. I never really liked Yogi Bear as a kid anyway, so
Uh-huh.
even the nostalgia didn't really drag me into it.
I don't think it was
What
a good
was he,
movie
the
regardless. I
zookeeper?
think he was Ranger Jones. So like one of
Was he in the cartoon? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that was I think that was the Ranger, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've seen anything with Yogi Bear, so I do not remember, but
Yeah, again, of all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, this is one I never kept up with.
mhm.
But yeah, good for him. He had a role in the film. Actually, if going back to She's Out of My League, he actually provides one of the most heartwarming bromance speeches ever, in my opinion.
It's T.J. Miller. I could see it.
Yeah. On the one hand, it's kind of weird that he says because the thing with this group of friends is that they say that Jay Baruchel's character is a 5, while the girl he falls in love with is a 10. So, and they ask, how can a 10 fall for a 5 or something like that? And at the end of the movie, like, I'll keep calling him a Jay, it's just easier for me, I don't remember the character's name. But Jay is about to board a flight with his ex-girlfriend, and then T.J. Miller just bursts into the plane and tells him, "Listen, don't take what we said about the 5 seriously. If you believe in yourself, you're a 10, and she thinks you're a 10. You're about 10. You're like 20, something like that. I don't remember, but I just remember it was kind of funny, kind of heartwarming or something. Look for it on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube, most likely.
So, I mean, it's T.J. Miller. We would be remiss and probably yelled at a lot if we didn't at least acknowledge the fact that he was also in Gravity Falls.
People are going to be mad at me because I never watched Gravity Falls.
It's an enjoyable show. I would
Just
say.
didn't have the time. I'm not watching a lot of TV.
If you ever get the chance, I would say check it out.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list because a lot of people say it's really, really good. But, I'm busy.
Understandable. But, I mean, we'd probably
Okay,
get yelled at if we didn't at least mention it, so it's been mentioned now. You can't yell at us any longer.
Yeah, but at least we mentioned it. Anyway, next up is Kristen Wiig. I watched a tiny bit of SNL. Tiny bit.
I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say this is probably something I've not seen a lot of the stuff she's been in. Sorry.
One role I do want to mention that she did, she voiced Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes show, and man, she just upgraded this character from nothing to something, so credit for that. Also, she's hilarious in that show. She's the best character in there, probably.
No, I take that back. Looking at the list of kind of films she was in, I have seen something she was in. Didn't realize it was her. Despicable Me 2.
I know she was in that, but I haven't seen that one.
I enjoyed her in that one. Thinking of the character, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the movie more or less. So, yeah. I have seen at least one thing she's been in.
And she was also in the new Ghostbusters movie, but let's not continue to talk about that because that's a touchy subject to some people.
I have not watched it, so I can't say.
Same, but you've probably heard what this movie had caused.
Another movie that I haven't seen that I didn't know she was in, Sausage Party. An interesting animated
yeah, she was in
movie,
that one.
So I've been told.
Yeah. Interesting. Actually, Jonah Hill was in this one.
Yeah, I think he was too. Yes, he was, Jonah Hill.
Yeah, so interesting movie, we agreed. Very interesting. I couldn't eat for weeks after seeing this anyway. You remember how after Toy Story came out, people say that they actually started thinking that their toys were coming to life once they left the room? Yeah. Try and watch Sausage Party with the idea of...
Well, that makes it so much worse.
Anyway, shall we go on to Mr. Gerard Butler? I have a vague memory of watching 300, and I told you my experience with his singing voice in Phantom of the Opera. Outside of that, not really a thing, and not.
Like the Phantom of the Opera, like. Unfortunately, Gerard does not have the greatest of singing voices. Surprisingly enough. Other than in possibly How to Train Your Dragon 2, where, he's not terrible. Otherwise, listening to the Phantom of the Opera, the one he stars in, it's not great, unfortunately.
I have brought you. Oh, man, post-traumatic stress disorder. Wow.
But I would say, probably one of his biggest roles was 300 for, I think it was playing Leonidas. I mean... anyone who's seen that movie pretty much you know what it is. It's very fun. It's very gory, to put it lightly.
Yeah, here's the thing. I remember watching it, but I don't really remember a thing about it. Like, I remember, of course, this is Sparta and
I remember this is Sparta, the slow-mo, and then I remember, like, the one thing I remember is just the CGI on the wall of bodies. That was it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you haven't seen that movie, that should pretty much tell you exactly what you're getting into if you decide to go watch it.
Yeah. And then the director of this movie decided to ruin DC's character. Nah, I'm kidding. Somewhat. Wonder Woman is a good movie. Anyway,
Well, other
moving
stuff
on.
I've seen him in is
Um,
Olympus Has Fallen. If I'm not mistaken, that was him.
I haven't seen that one.
And then I think he was also in London Has Fallen, which are both, they're general standard action movies.
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Mm.
How to Train a Dragon 3, The Fallen of something.
Uh,
The Fallen of something.
but, they were both, your standard action movies, I would say. Is there anything else
Okay.
I've seen him in?
Um,
I would say that's mostly it, other than a few things here and there, but nothing like of major note, I would say.
yeah. Anyway, Craig Ferguson. So I watched a lot of his show back when he hosted the Late Late Show, was it?
Yeah, the Late Late Show, yeah.
Yeah. So I watched a lot of that, and I also I found him wanted up, but he had a stand-up show called "Does This Need to Be Said?" This is one of the best stand-ups I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably on YouTube. If you're curious, search on YouTube Craig Ferguson. Does this need to be said? And have fun. You'll thank me later. And now, in terms of movies he did, to be honest, this is going to be kind of embarrassing. But okay, you know what? There was Brave. He wasn't Brave, so there's that. Now the embarrassing one is that the other movie I saw with him was when he voiced Al in
Yep.
Winnie the Pooh, in the 2011
Yep.
Winnie the Pooh. But here's the funny thing. I never saw that in English. I only saw it because I babysit my little cousin, and she was in it was her, and she was at the age you like Winnie the Pooh when you're a kid, so she saw that, but she doesn't know English, so she saw it dubbed. So I technically saw this movie with him, but I didn't really heard him, if you know what I mean. And although kind of a side note, to be honest, this is one of those movies I preferred to have watched dubbed because they actually got a lot of the original Winnie the Pooh voice actors to come back in the dub. And so these are the guys I grew up with as opposed to, the English ones. No disrespect for them, all of them are great. Jim Cummings is a god.
Something else he's been in movie-wise, he was in Kick-Ass.
Really?
Yeah.
He was in Kick-Ass?
He played
What
himself.
role? I don't remember that, and I love this movie. Oh, man.
I'll be honest,
Now
it's
I need
been a
to-
while since I've seen
now
it, so
I
I
need to
don't quite
rewatch
remember
it.
it either. But yeah, he was in Kick-Ass.
I'll have to check for that now, man. Oh my god, I need to see this now. Next weekend, I need to look for my Blu-ray.
Basically, this is just going to be
Oh
us
my
going
God.
through, maybe we should rewatch this again. I enjoyed this movie a while back. Well, I know what our Saturday and Sunday is going to be filled with, probably. And possibly the
Yeah.
listeners, too.
No, yeah. Hell, I love Kick-Ass, so this will be a fun thing to check. Okay, moving on, let's talk Kate Blanchett, and kind of another confession. I know she was in the Lord of the Rings movies,
Yes.
right? I don't like Lord of the Rings. Okay, and allow me to be more specific. I don't like the first one because I tried to watch the first one, and there's only one thing I remember for it. The only memory I have of this movie is that some dude is standing in front of a door, and some guy on a horse bursts through the door, and he squashes the guy standing in front, near the door. That's all I remember from this movie. Like, that's the one thing that stuck with me throughout this entire experience. And yeah, because I didn't really like the first one, I didn't keep on with the rest of the films. So I don't know. Was she in the first
Yeah,
one?
she was Galadriel, and she was in yeah, she was in the first one. Yeah, Galadriel, if I'm not mistaken, yeah,
Okay.
was in the first one. She was in.
So I saw her in that movie. I just don't remember seeing her in this movie.
I mean, Galadriel's role was not very major, but I would say that's probably where most people would know her from. I don't think too many other people would know her from anywhere else, and I'm sure we'll probably get a lot of angry comments telling you off for not liking Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so just allow me to apologize. If you like Lord of the Rings, that's perfectly fine, and I'm happy that you enjoy it because you obviously saw something that I didn't. But this is the one thing where my opinion is wrong, apparently, and so don't take this the wrong way. If you enjoy it, good for you. I'm happy for you. It's just apparently not my thing.
She was also, I think, another role that she played in, and again, this is where I personally say like she's very much kind of, in my opinion, she's very much kind of typecast as the, very prim and proper lady, you know. She could definitely play other roles, and you can see her play other roles here and there, but she gets, looking at kind of her list, like other than Galadriel, who is very much kind of a princess. You see, she played Queen Elizabeth, and many other like roles of royalty. Looking here and there, but
She also played Cinderella's stepmother in the 2015 live-action
mhm.
Cinderella. And to be honest, she was probably the best part in this movie.
Yeah, I've heard some interesting stuff about that one.
It's not
I've
particularly
heard that too.
good, but it's not.
Did you?
Let me say it like this. Let me say it like this. This is a real story, and I'm people are probably going to hate me for it. But hey, like I said, I'm sick of all of these live action Disney remakes. Alice in Wonderland was boring. Oz the Great and Powerful made me fall asleep. Maleficent was very questionable. And what now? They're going to do another one with
Don't forget,
Cinderella? Yeah, forget it.
you didn't.
I'm not watching that. You are not going to make me. Frozen Fever is going to be played before Cinderella. Oh, for son of a go, Disney, and so I went
I
to see
mean, you
Cinderella.
forgot the Jungle Book, the live action remake of that. Oh well,
That was
yeah.
after, so it doesn't count. So yeah, I went to see the new Cinderella movie mostly because of the Frozen shot before it. I don't care. You know what? It
They
was
got
worth
you.
it. That was the best part in the whole
They
deal.
got you. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they got me. Although credit where credit is due, I haven't seen Jungle Book yet, and I only saw Beauty and the Beast as a rental. I didn't go to see it
Hmm.
in the theaters. So yeah, what is the next live action one? What is coming out next year? I
I
forgot.
don't know.
Oh well, I don't care. Anyway, back to Kate
Um.
Blanchett. She, she is going to be in the new Thor movie, so
Hmm.
I'll probably
Yeah,
see her
and
there.
she's going to be in Ocean's 8.
What is that?
That's just a series of movies where it's basically just, it's a heist movie essentially. If it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ah, okay. So it's connected to
yeah,
that
Ocean's
ocean.
11 and
Okay,
all those,
fine.
like the series of heist movies. The heist comedy movies.
Yeah.
Very
So
fun, enjoyable.
they're going for 8 now. Interesting.
I mean, I think there's quite a few of those movies. Oh no, it's just two.
I know about 11. I know about 11 and
Oh,
13.
okay. I didn't realize Ocean's 8 is an all-female spin-off. So that should
Oh,
be interesting. So basically it's kind of the
yeah,
the
that should be
Ghostbusters treatment.
interesting. Yeah, which means all of the fans of the original of the previous two are going to be like, no, this is a
No, I don't think so.
disgrace.
I don't think it would matter that much. I mean, it's very much kind of a buddy comedy, if you will, and I think it'd be interesting to see that from a female perspective. So it might be interesting.
Yeah, Wolf, I'm making fun of the internet. It's not. I'm
I
not
know.
really serious about this.
Another movie I saw her in, which a fairly a somewhat older one, the 2010 Robin Hood. I saw her in that one.
You know, I think I saw it. I just don't
That's the
remember
one
much of
starring
it.
Russell Crowe.
You know what? Yeah, I just remember why I don't remember
It's
it so
very,
much. I don't like
it's very
Russell Crowe.
It's a very forgettable movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, no kidding. I know I saw it. I just don't remember a thing from it.
Um, yeah, I haven't seen anything other than Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Scroll. Other than besides that, and seen a little bit of that and her role in that. The only other thing I've really seen of her in it is, Lord of the Rings.
Hmm. Well, I already said what I think about that specific one. Okay, anybody else? Kit Harington. Okay, another confession. I haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, and the reason for this, before you go up in arms.
So many people can be mad at you.
Uh, yeah, so before you Hunger Games me, let me explain my position with Game of Thrones. I have this tendency with TV shows that usually when they go for a while and all of a sudden they put on this ending that makes you, that kind of ruins the entire experience. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting until the show ends and trying to kind of get from people who do watch it if the ending felt satisfying, and based on that I'll start watching it, because I don't feel like going through the entire journey for an ending that will be eh.
Yeah.
But it's a personal thing. I'm not. I'm sure it's great. Like I saw trailers, and a few friends in my class actually analyzed a few scenes for it in college. So it looks unbelievable, and I definitely want to check it out. I'm just waiting for
It's
the right
definitely
moment.
a show that, again, I guess I get to make people mad at me too. I've not seen the show either, but I've read the books, so they can't be too mad at me. But I've not seen the show. But yeah, like I hear good things about his role from that, and I think that's why a lot of people enjoy him in the second movie. So, otherwise he's not been in a lot, but he was in two movies that I have seen, which is Pompeii. If
Never
I'm not
heard of
mistaken,
it.
I think I've seen that. Oh, let me make sure. Yes, kind of. I think I've seen parts of this. It's basically, the retelling of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, essentially. And of what all Pompeii has to do with that. I remember seeing a bit of his role in that, and that was all right. I don't really remember much about that movie, so maybe that tells you something. And then the other movie that I know I've seen with him in it is Silent Hill Revelation.
It's based on
The
a
Silent Hill
game,
games,
right?
yes. And the movies are...
To be honest, I don't remember there was a sequel to the movie. I know there was a movie. I don't remember
There
a
was.
sequel to it.
It was... Eh.
Was it better than the first? Because I've heard horrible things about the
The
first one.
first one was actually not terrible, but, I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Like, if you talk to a game fan, they'll probably tell you the first one was terrible, depending on... Silent Hill is a very crazy ride, considering, like, considering who you talk to within Silent Hill fandom, I guess you would say, it's a crazy ride.
Yeah, because I've heard about a fan who can pretty much write an essay about how much he doesn't like the movie.
So, I mean,
So
it depends on who you talk to.
I'm going based on that.
I think it was okay.
I know the games,
go ahead.
and I just never play them.
Yeah,
So
like, I've not played many of them either, but I mean, like, as a film, it was alright. Nothing major. nothing to write home about. It was enjoyable. The second one is mostly, I think, just like, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, it was mostly just, we have a ton of 3D. Let's sell it. And it's just over the top with 3D. Way over the top. And it's just, it's mostly there just to be gory, just to look raunchy, gory, and just 3D. Throw it at you. One of those movies, essentially.
Okay. So this is the thing I've learned from the Berkcast today. Apparently there was a Silent Hills movie sequel. I'll look into it.
Don't expect a lot, and
by look into it, I mean I'm going to check for general reception and talk to friends who publish, so I'm not really interested because I never really played the games, so okay, next one is, I always call him Digimon, but what's the name of Drago's actor again?
Demon Hansu, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Demon is how you pronounce it. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
I'll still call him Digimon because it's funny to me. Anyway, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, even though he didn't have that big of a role in it. But he did bring up that amazing meme of who? Like whenever you don't know anyone, you just put the picture of him and the tag of who in the bottom of the pic. That's all you need. Anyway, there was another movie I saw with them. It's called Never Back Down, I think, where imagine if Rocky and the Karate Kid had a child.
Imagining.
Not the process, the child itself. So because it's about a kid who gets beat up at school, but instead of learning karate, he learns boxing, and he plays the teacher, the trainer. And I remember it being a fun movie because it was one of those films that I really had nothing else better to do, so I tried channel surfing and I saw it's just started, so might as well give it its fair shot, and it was fine.
So, movies.
Also, funny thing about this, apparently this movie had a direct-to-video sequel, and he's the only cast member who didn't reprise his role.
So movies I've seen him in, and actually I forgot to mention it. Gerard Butler played in this movie as well. Lara Croft, Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Life.
Oh yeah. How could I forget about that one? I saw that too.
That was an enjoyable movie.
You talking about the second one?
Is it the second one?
I think they were in the second one.
It's The Cradle of Life. I don't remember. Yeah, it's the sequel.
Yeah, it's the second one.
It is.
I re-watched the first one a few months ago, and I feel sorry for Angelina Jolie. She played a decent Lara Croft. She just got a bad script.
Those movies, like looking back, I enjoyed them, but looking at them now, they're very much not good movies. But I still enjoy them,
and again,
because they're not good movies.
And again, I'll stand by it. Angelina Jolie is a great Lara Croft, because if you look at her, she runs and she poses just like Lara does in the games, so that's great. But she got stuck with a bad script and a director who can direct action scenes to save their lives. It's so again, like you said, one of those, like those as a kid, not particularly fun of them.
Now, two other movies I've seen him in. I don't know if you've seen it, but have you seen Aragon?
I think I did.
I've read the books. I saw the movie first and then read the books like a while later. It's been years since I've seen the movie. I've recently read the books, so that should give you somewhat of an idea. But the movie, it's okay as a movie. It's not terrible. It's not great. At least if you don't compare it heavily to the books. But if you compare it heavily to the books, it starts leaning a little bit more towards the not great side. But I enjoyed it, seen it. It sequel baited hard. Like, this was definitely a movie like, yeah, we're definitely going to make enough money to get a sequel. No, never mind. We did not at all. And so it never went anywhere. But I continually, anyone who talks about this movie, every time I talk about this movie, I always bring this up. The thing that, and, you know, his role in it was fairly minor, so it wasn't like a major role for him, but he was all right for the role that he played. Like, he did well at it. I don't think there was anything off from the character from the books. But the thing...
You know, you talked about Aragon. I believe the director of this movie was at one point supposed to direct a Spyro the Dragon movie, which was cancelled.
Probably a good thing. Although, then again, actually thinking about it, maybe that would have been interesting to see, because the thing I love about this movie, that I enjoy the most, is Saphira the dragon, her design in this movie. I always bring this up about this movie. This is one of the first times I've ever, and one of the only times I've ever seen someone do this. Saphira's design in the dragon, she has feathers. She's a dragon with feathers. That astounded and amazed me. Like, she doesn't have feathers in the book, but the movie just decided, let's give her feathers as a dragon just to be unique. And I love that they did that, because the CGI on her is great. It probably may not stand up to the test of time. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but the feathers is just, I loved that. Just feathers. Okay, you know what? Fine. It looks cool, I'll admit.
Dean, if you're listening to this, create a dragon with feathers.
If it's interesting, I'll be for it.
Dragon 3.
It's an interesting idea. Like, you don't see that very often, so, you know, kudos on them for being interesting with at least one thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that design.
The last one, and then the last movie I have to recommend, and like this one I like legit recommend going out and seeing this one, and this is why I thought Dimon Hansu for a villain as Drago, for playing the villain as Drago, would be a good pick, was Blood Diamond. Like, Blood Diamond is a great movie in my opinion.
Okay, so let's close with one obvious choice that we kind of need to talk about. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, the Joker. That's it. We're done.
Pretty much.
And I'll say that he is the best Joker, and I don't care that he is just a voice. He is the best one. I'm saying this because people actually try to use that argument against my pick, and I'm like, I don't care.
Good to know.
Anyway, so let's just agree that out of all the movies we mentioned, How to Train a Dragon is probably the best each of these actors has ever done. Agreed? Agreed.
I don't know if I would say best, but it's definitely a good representation of their talents and what they're best at.
No doubt. Okay, so that's, I think, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's all for this episode of the Berkcast. Yeah, this is a How to Train a Dragon podcast. I kind of forgot. Sorry about that.
We swear. We swear we'll talk about How to Train Your Dragon.
We hope.
All right, we just did. There you go.
Yeah, we kind of did, because, you know, we talked about, again, other stuff the actors did. It's still connected.
How to Train Your Dragon is a great movie. You guys should go watch it if you've not seen it. There, we talked about How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah. There's our How to Train Your Dragon reference. Now we're still a How to Train Your Dragon
people who listen
podcast.
To this haven't watched How to Train Your Dragon. What are they doing here?
Now we can still be counted as a How to Train Your Dragon podcast.
Yep. But anyway, that's it for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. If you have anything to share about other movies the cast members have been in, other shows, your personal thoughts with them, do you agree or not agree with what we said?
Especially,
feel free to tell us that.
Especially stuff that you think really showcases them as an actor. Like, recommend stuff like that. I'd be interested in seeing other stuff where these actors have played in.
Same. So if you have any of those, or you just want to debate with us and tell us if you've learned something new about them from this episode, tell us. You can tell us that in the comments below. On our Tumblr, we are Berkcast team. On Twitter, we are Berkcast capital B capital C, and we are all on the Berk from Vine forums. So until next time, I
I've
was
been
HC.
Wolf.
And we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Take care.